I guess the first topic was about basically Bill Russell being a top five player on Lamont's list. He has him four over guys like Tim Duncan, Shaq, Magic, Bird, Will Chamberlain, and what really grinded my gears, Kobe and Curry. Looking at this list, I understand it's an all-time list, all-time GOAT list, accomplishment based, a bunch of what have you done for the game type S things, but I feel like there's a blend of actual skill and ability on the basketball court. Not to disrespect Bill Russell, 11 rings, cool. I don't think Lamont's the kind of guy that values just rings over everything because that would make this list nonsensical. So I assume there's a level of player skill involved in this list. And seeing guys like Curry and Kobe rated tied for 10th, but a guy like Bill Russell, who offensively, we're talking about a guy with a career field goal average of 45%. He's the original running dunk man. Watching, I don't know if many people watched the play. He had a cool little ugly hook that went in occasionally, and he was running dunk man. Phenomenal defender, take nothing away from his defense, but your ability on the offensive end definitely matters if we're talking about the greatest players of all time. There's no way his defense in the prehistoric era, which not to discount that era, but hey man, the smartest caveman amongst cavemen was still a caveman. I'm sorry. A guy like Tim Duncan should not be rated below a guy like Bill Russell. Tim Duncan is a great team player, system player. Obviously wasn't killing it with numbers all the way, but offensively, miles ahead of a guy like Bill Russell. Yeah, my time's up.
Hey, all-time rankings, you guys should take into account three things. So when we talk about a player like Bill Russell, we're talking about championships, accolades, legacy, impact, and at the end of the day, just like Damo said, pure basketball skill. But one thing he forgot to mention is pure basketball skill relative to your own peers in your own era. We're not necessarily comparing a guy like Bill Russell to other players across other eras. We compare his skill to the players of his own era. And when we do that, what we see is that he was one of the most elite basketball players of all time. So there's a lot of invalid reasons that Damo has given or that he will ultimately give. We've heard them. Russ played against no competition. That's one of them. He talked about his offense. I'll get to that later. But when you talk about, I'll just start with the competition. When you talk about his competition, they talk about he played in a smaller league, a league that was only 8 teams, and it started to grow from there. Well, actually, there was more competition because on every single night, he was playing a Hall of Fame center. Wilt Chamberlain, Nate Thurman, Clyde Levette, Elvin Hayes, Zelman Beatty, Willis Reed, Walt Bellamy, Wayne Embry, Bob Pettit, Dolph Chase. The list goes on. Every night he saw Hall of Fame caliber players because the league was smaller. Then it started to grow. And that's not even mentioning the guards that he had to see every night. So when we talk about these things, we talk about how he, as a defensive player, innovated the game. There's a lot of elements of the game that we talk about. All right.
Yeah, one thing that doesn't make sense to me, if we're talking about all-time great lists, those players are ranked amongst each other, amongst all time. You can sit here and say, oh, relative to era, Bill Russell was great. He played against great competition. That's fine. But in an all-time list, you're considering all eras and your talent in that era compared to other guys that came after you. I'm not trying to discredit him and say he's not a great player. That's fine. But there have been guys that came in the game after him with where the skill set on the offensive side of the basketball is just way too great and way too much of a gap to sit there and tell me that because this guy who was on a magnificent team for that time, I understand there were smaller teams, but his team was still leaps and bounds amongst other teams. He didn't win 11 championships just off the strength of him. No, John Havlicek was a guy on that team that a lot of people don't talk about when they're talking about that time period. John Havlicek on this team, another top 50, top 75 player all time, 8-time defensive player of the year. He had phenomenal teammates with him. He had actual help to go along the side that he's a minimal offensive player, great athlete, tremendous defender. Not trying to discredit him. I just need to stress the fact that a guy like Tim Duncan is also an all-time great defender. A guy like Kobe, for his era and his position, is still a great defender, all-time great defender, and what they do offensively leaps that of what Bill Russell does as a player. There's no way you're telling me you're taking 11 rings into consideration that much.
You have to take the 11 rings into consideration because the championship started with Bill Russell and ended with Bill Russell. The Celtics had 0 championships and were a very marginal team before Bill Russell got there, 39-33, lost in the playoffs. They had no championships, 3rd worst defense in the league. As soon as Bill Russell arrives, 11 championships, 1st best defense in the league for 12 years, right? Even those last couple of years, he did it as a player coach, right? When Bill Russell retired in 1969, they automatically dropped to a 34-48 record, second worst offense in the league and one of the worst defenses in the league. The championship started with Bill Russell. They ended Bill Russell, so much so that the Laker coach, a team that battled this Celtic team, you know what he said? John Kundala, he says, we don't fear the Celtics without Bill Russell. Take him out and we can beat them. He didn't fear all of these other guys that you claim are Hall of Famers that helped Bill Russell get these championships. Nobody feared those guys. And when you remove Bill Russell from the equation, they immediately began losing to the tune of, after 1969, it took them another 5 years just to get back to the NBA Finals. So when you talk about Bill Russell, he was the reason why they were winning championships. It was his defense, his leadership. We haven't even really talked about his stats and accomplishments. Those are the things that make up a great player. Those are the things, your accolades, your impact. When we talk about impact, that is one of the biggest impacts I've ever seen.
Back on you, Dumbo.
All right, bet. I think it's great to talk about how great Bill Russell was in his era, and that's fine. But again, we're talking about a all-time NBA players list. I get the domination in his era was great, but you have to consider his era amongst the rest of the eras in the NBA that came afterwards. All I'm hearing from you is how great and how impactful Bill Russell was in that era. Cool, but my God, when you're comparing him against guys that are playing way better competition, guys that are playing way different, better, more advanced styles of basketball, that has to be considered. I don't think isolating it to just, oh, what you did in your era was so dominant, because at that point, why would he not be the greatest player of all time? If we're just talking about dominance of your era, why wouldn't he be 2? Why isn't he higher? Why is it guys like Michael Jordan who has the perfect record? Why is it guys like LeBron and Kareem who are longevity goats? Why are they getting this pass to be over Bill Russell? But guys like Kobe Bryant, guys like Tim Duncan, guys like Shaq, guys like Magic, guys like Bird aren't. You have Wilt Chamberlain ninth on your list. Wilt Chamberlain is another phenomenal, great before his time player and played in that era with Bill Russell. He didn't win in that era, but he was equally, maybe even more, actually more dominant than Bill Russell, but he's not be considered anywhere above these other guys. So it's a lack of consistency on the list. I'm not trying to knock your analytics of whatever Bill Russell was and how dominant Bill Russell was and how great Bill. I'm not knocking that, but compared to other guys, compared to a Shaq, compared to Tim Duncan, I don't think it compares. I don't think it competes. The game gets better after you. No one is trying to discredit what he's done for the game or how he impacted the game, but I am trying to discredit if you're trying to say him as a basketball player is greater than these guys who are clearly better hoopers and could be argued equally as impactful or great for the game.
Hey, let's go ahead and go down this road of trying to surmise who Bill Russell would be if he played today. Let's just start by talking about Bill Russell. He was he had a 7'4" wingspan. He was an athletic freak in the 60s. He could rebound the ball, he could push the break. And remember, they were doing this at a time when they were extremely petty about the rules with regards to palming and euro stepping and things like that. So they had to keep their hands on top of the ball because of the rules. Right? As they lessen those rules, we saw people get to manipulate the ball and do other things. But Bill Russell, he still has a 66-year-old record at the University of San Francisco for the high jump that's never been broken, 6 feet, 9.25 inches. He was a freak athlete. So when we think about what he could do, if he could translate to today's game, imagine what he could do with the strength and conditioning coaches that the modern era is accessible to. So the thing is, everything that you're talking about, we have to try to imagine in our head what he would look like in today's game, as opposed to just going with what we've already seen. What have we already seen of Bill Russell? What we've already seen is we've seen Bill Russell win 11 championships. He was 5-time MVP. That's 5-time MVP voted by the players. 12-time All-Star, 3-time first All-NBA first team. He led the league in rebounds, one of the greatest rebounders in NBA history, obviously one of the best defensive players in NBA history, would definitely have more finals MVPs if the award even existed, would definitely have more defensive player of the year awards if the award existed. And let's not even talk about quadruple doubles and triple doubles if they even kept track in the 135 games that were recorded on videotape. The man averaged 8.8 steals and 8.1 blocks per game. So imagine how many triple doubles and quadruple doubles he would have had if those stats were actually counted during his time as well. So that's why I'm going to go back to what I said in the beginning. Impact, and skill relative to your peers is what matters most when you're talking about Bill Russell.
Okay. That I'm not gonna lie. If we starting off like that, these next
Yeah,
few battles, they gotta come with it, boy.
yeah,
You boys better come with it.
y'all
Hey,
better
so
bring
these
it.
y'all better bring it. So these next 2 minutes, chat, we need y'all to vote. These next 2 minutes for y'all. This is fan voting right now. Who would y'all say won that battle? Is Bill Russell top 5? Lamont FYF said yes. Domo said no. These boys both bought 5 points. Good job, gentlemen. This was an
Great
epic battle,
debate.
man.
Great
Epic
debate.
battle, dog. For me, I feel like neither one of y'all should hang y'all head if y'all lose, bro. This was epic. This hard for me right here. It's tough. It's
Yeah,
tough. What you think, J Rob?
I'm gonna be honest, man. Listen, I was definitely skeptical, but way to set the tone, fellas. Me personally, the debates on both ends were phenomenal. I think I both bought y'all facts. Um, this is
Judge
how you
one,
start. This is how you
Domo
start a show.
2-1.
Like this right here. This is how you start a show. Y'all bring your A
Dirty.
games. You feel me? I really enjoyed that. On God, I really enjoyed
First,
that. What
first judge, first judge got Domo 2-1.
first judge one got Damo 2-1.
Still going. Chat, keep voting.
You
Keep
keep
voting.
voting,
Everybody
chat.
get them votes
We
in,
still got
man.
40
Don't be
seconds.
lazy, man. Get them
Judge
votes in.
one,
Get them votes
Judge
in.
one has Damo 2-1, so that's one vote for Damo in this round.
Hey, I ain't know about that high jump record. That was clean. I ain't know about that. I thought
Yeah, that
Wilt
was
was the only
fire.
one. I thought he was the only one from that era that still like held records to this day. Shout out Bill Russell.
Yeah, 6'9" and a high jump is insane for those who don't know track and field. Judge 2 got Damo 2-1. So first round goes to Damo just off the strength of the judges' vote alone. Obviously, Damo is winning the fan vote. So 3-0 first round went to Damo. Bama, do you want to announce our next topic?
So the next topic, which era was better? We got Lamont in favor of the 2000s. Ooh, and Damo going with the current era right now. Hey, another one. Another one. This is this one got the potential to be an epic debate too, man. I want to see how these boys gonna go right here with this one. What you think?
Hey, I like this one a lot just because, I'm definitely a fan of both eras. I'm assuming the 2000s is 2000 to 2010. So that was a great era in basketball. That's when, for me, that's the era when I became a fan of the game. But then I look at today's era and the skill level of today's game, and it's like you could definitely see
We'll
how the
see.
game is moving forward. So I'm really
We'll
excited to
see
see
what
how this
these boys
unfolds.
finna present, man.
Yeah.
Time on the clock.
All right. As y'all just heard, I am in favor of today's game. Today's game to me definitely clears the 2000s game because it takes a lot of the best aspects of the 2000s, enhances it, and spreads it amongst everyone. It's a positionless game. Big guys aren't just limited to coming in the league and having to play a particular way and being held down. Scoring guards who are talented with the basketball, aren't sacrificed to be a traditional point guard or to fit a traditional point guard role. A lot of those guys are still good passers, great passers, but they're allowed to be the scorers that they are. They're not hindered. You wouldn't have to have one of ones in the aspect of guys like Gilbert Arenas or anomalies like guys that are Gilbert Arenas in that time, because in this time, everyone can be Gilbert Arenas. It's fair amongst the league. You have forwards, everyone that's actually having ball skill and able to put a basketball in their hand and disperse for their team, be able to lead their team instead of having to follow a simple formula of how a team should be built. Two bigs, a wing, two different guards, one to score, one to pass. It's not simplistic. It's definitely a lot of different schemes, definitely a lot of different systems. The game is more wide open and free for everyone to eat, and more stars to emerge, more household names to be had. The integration of social media letting you to follow these guys and honestly get these guys more money and get these guys paid. That's another reason why this era is better. A lot of these guys got more freedom. Everybody's going to joke in 15, 20 years about them being podcasters, but that'll be the difference between them being who they are and Joe Smith,
All right, obviously, I got the 2000s as the best era. This was the post Jordan era. I think it was one of the most important times in NBA history. And it could either let us down dramatically or it can live up to the expectation from the fandom of the 90s. And so when we talk about the post Jordan era, it did not let us down. We got to start with the teams, right? Not just the style of play. I'm not going to reduce it down to that. That's one of the minute things you can talk about. When you start with the teams the 2000s had some of the greatest teams and dynasties that you can think of. And these teams and dynasty brooded rivalries. This is what the people want to see when you talk about the Lakers, the Shaq and Kobe era, when you talk about the Spurs and that Spurs dynasty. Tim Duncan and Greg Popovich. When you talk about the Black Mamba Lakers, right? We can't forget that. Two different versions of the Lakers in one era. And then when you talk about the big three Boston Celtics, the Shaq and D Wade, Miami Heat, you talk about the Detroit Pistons and that defensive style, the excitement of the Sacramento Kings, and everybody wanted to tune in and just hear how loud Arco Arena was at the time. You talk about the innovations of the game with Steve Nash and the Phoenix Suns, and what D'Antoni. When you talk about what we see today, all that stems from everything you saw in the 2000s, similar to what the Steve Nash and the Phoenix Suns brought. When you talk about just star power alone, these dynasties need stars to thrive. The LeBrons, the Kobes, the Iversons, the Paul Pierce, D Wade, Vince Carter, Shaq, KG, Tim Duncan, and the list goes on and on and on.
I like you bringing up the greatest teams of all time or great teams of that era. Like, the current era doesn't have great teams or great players. Yes, team rivalries aren't so much of a thing now because we have player movement, we have player engagement, empowerment, allowing the players to move along. So now rivalries are amongst teams. If you ask Luka, he still got beef every time he sees a Phoenix jersey, as long as Devin Booker's there. Every time he sees those LA boys in the Clippers, he's trying to give them 60. So there's still player rivalries, there's still beef. You just gotta watch the game. And we were talking about the greatest teams of all time. I mean, are the Warriors not in contention for that? Do we not see that? Those guys won just as many titles in this era or close to as some of the teams that you named. You named the Pistons as one in the 2000s. They won one ring. Let's not talk about the dynasties or the great teams moving forward from this era. Even the failed ones. The failed teams are equally as great as those teams that you want to mention that maybe won once or even got to the finals once. I don't even think it competes, to be honest. When we're talking about great teams, those Cavalier teams graced by LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, the Warriors teams that I talked about pre-KD, with KD, and now post-KD. So that shows if there's anything or any team that's competed for the term dynasty, and we're going to act like there wasn't one in today's game for the 2000s, man, the Warriors are a modern-day dynasty, and we might want to have some coming forward with guys like Nikola Jokic and other greats.
I think it's funny to talk about dynasties, and the 2000s had essentially two dynasties. You either are a dynasty or you aren't. There's no such thing as a fake dynasty. I mean, you can't, you got to either a dynasty or you're not. 2000s had two, right? So we'll move on from that because there are other elements that made the 2000s a great. And I think one of the biggest impacts that the 2000s had that bleeds into today's game is that we saw the rise in international stars. They allowed these stars in, and with the advancements of the game, these stars help open the game up. They help showcase how to combat some of the greatest defenses of all time that we saw. Remember, the 2000s is arguably one of the best defensive eras of all time, some of the best defensive teams. And how do you combat that? Well, they brought these international players over like Dirk, 7-footers shooting fadeaways over 2 and 3 players. Manu Ginobili comes in with the Euro step. We still see that in today's game. Players like Paul Gasol showing bigs how to pass between double teams, right, with the finesse style of play. Guys like Tony Parker. You have Yao Ming bringing the whole country of China on his back over with him. And then you had defensive players like Kurylenko and Peja Stojakovic, and the list goes on. So when we see how today's game is played, it started because of the elite defenses of the 2000s, and the international players help bring over the skill and style that you need to combat these great defenses.
I think it's great to go down this rabbit hole of international players because, again, we're seeing some of the greatest international players we've seen. There's never been a time in the NBA where the international player has been so prevalent and dominant than it is now. We're talking about the last 3 MVPs, 4 MVPs. I'm trying to think when the last time an MVP wasn't international. Doesn't matter because that's how far you have to think back off the top of your head. It's been a minute. The international, you're talking about guys like Dirk, when we have a guy like Jokic now who does a lot of the things that Dirk does and enhances it. And that's my point. The reason why today's game is over 2000 because it enhances a lot of the best parts of it. Yes, the defense was tremendous in the 2000s. That it was prevalent. It was coming off of the 90s. It was a shift when you realize offense is more entertaining to watch. It's more fun game to watch, and defense is still being played. Games are still won by defense. Teams are still going on and implementing defensive systems and everything. In today's NBA, that's an offensively driven league. I feel like when you're comparing leagues and comparing them amongst each other, it's just no competition. It doesn't compete. Like it doesn't. It's a lot of nostalgia. A lot of the great things and aspects of that era that you speak of, It is in today's era tenfold and or better, tenfold better, more prevalent, more loud, more embraced. Guys have the freedom to come in today and be who they were when they grew up. You don't have to just have this guy, this kid who grew up and he's 6'9", but love having the ball in his hands. He doesn't have to sacrifice playing the style that he likes to complement what the NBA is, because the NBA is welcoming to this kid. Again, we're talking about foreign guys. You brought up Pau Gasol. I can bring up a guy like Giannis. You bring up guys like Manu Ginobili. I could bring up Luka. A lot of these guys are going to be trendsetters in changing and pushing the game even further than those guys did. Enhanced and made better. I don't understand how the better product wouldn't be the better era.
I'm gonna ask you guys this: how can the 2010s, which I don't really think Damo even talked about the 2010s, as opposed to really fighting back, trying to combat the 2000s, but how can the 2010s be a better era than the 2000s if it simply copycat the 2000s offensively, but forgot all about the defense? How can the 2010s be a better era than the 2000s when it simply copycat the 2000s, but forgot the rivalries and all of the dynasties? So it copied a lot of elements from the 2000s, but it forgot to take some of the most important elements. The player mobility, like you said, stifles what this era can be. When you have LeBron James, who could build a dynasty at one place, moving from team to team to team. When you have Kawhi Leonard, who could build a dynasty in San Antonio, move from team to team to team. This kills the rivalries. Rivalries and dynasties are some of the primary elements that make up a great dynasty. If you don't have that, your dynasty is going to lack from other eras that actually had those things. So when we talk about the 2000s, we saw a combination and culmination of high level play and the physicality from past eras, but then we saw that combined for the first time with extremely high level offensive prowess, like especially with players like Tim Duncan and Kobe Bryant and Kevin Garnett leading the way, right? Secondly, this was an era where obviously this was the stage for some of the most dominant dynasties in NBA history. I talked about the dynasties led by Shaq and Kobe Bryant, right? They started the era off with a three-peat. Right, that sets the stage for a great era. Meanwhile, the Spurs dynasty kicked in, and then we saw how many championships they won with Tim Duncan. So again, when your dynasty, your era starts off that way, that's what makes it great. And that's not. We got to talk about the teams that you sprinkle in there, like the Pistons and like some of the other teams that actually help make it more great. So the 2000s was an era, also marked by the international play.
This next 2 minutes is for the chat. Who y'all think y'all want? Another good one too, man. I don't know. I would hate to be a judge in this, man.
Are we supposed to stay muted during the whole 2-minute thing? I don't.
No, y'all good. Y'all could talk. I mean, y'all could talk about what y'all thought of the battle and stuff, but obviously, don't start debating again. The battle's over.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
In that regard, but yeah, I thought y'all could hear me, but yeah, the battle was valid, man. I really enjoyed it, and I think not only from a basketball sense, they talked about the skills part, but I do like how they talked about the lifestyle differences in era based off like how things have evolved today versus back then. I thought that was really cool. There's a lot of nuance to this battle, but this has been fun, man. This is fun. Judge the vote. Oh, you want to call it? Go ahead.
Yeah, Judge 1 got Lamont 3-0.
Okay. Judge 1 got Lamont 3-0 in the first round. Okay. Right now the chat's at 700 votes. Keep them votes coming in, chat.
Keep coming in, chat.
Keep it coming in, chat. These votes is going up. I think the last one had what, 800? 800 plus, almost 900. Can we get 1,000 can we get 1,000 vote? Can we get 1,000 voters? That would be pretty fire. 1,000 voters before the 2 minutes is up. We got another 15 seconds. Fellas, how y'all feeling? Y'all both good up there? It's pretty good.
Yep, all good.
Solid, bro.
Yes, sir.
Lamont 2-1 with Judge number 2.
Oh man. And with that,
so with the
got
final
our last
topic.
Vote.
Oh man, with the final topic, we got a 1-1 split, man.
Woo! I love it. I love this type of stuff, man.
This couldn't be any better for a first battle, man. This couldn't be any better for a first battle, man.
Hey, Lamont, hell of a comeback. Getting swept in the first round and bringing it back with your own sweep. That's pretty tough. Both of y'all 3-0 first round. This last round, this gonna be tough. This gonna come down to the finish. I'm definitely excited to see how this goes down, Bama, for sure. Game 7.
So the final topic who's the better GM? And the team is Los Angeles Lakers. So I'm assuming y'all picking which one out those eras is the better GM. I'm assuming. Um,
Nah, we're basically discussing our plans, what we would do for the Lakers,
okay.
and
Okay,
yeah,
sweet.
basically.
All right.
All right, I'm just waiting for the timer to go up.
First round will be 3 minutes. It's on
Bet.
Dama.
All right, bet. First thing I'm doing, man. Hey, chat, you know me. I'm trading that terrorist Torian Prince. I'm also trading Gabe Vincent, not because I understand he's injured, and not because he's bad. I'm just sick of the 3-guard lineup nonsense from Darvin Ham. I would rather trade those guys in my hypothetical instant. I'm trying to be realistic about it. I would trade both of those guys, maybe even as many second round picks or even a first. This is worth the win now for a guy like Jalen Smith. Get a backup center. Let AD be the 4, his traditional position, the position he plays best, and I'm moving LeBron to the 1. And what I'm also going to do is, because I'm freeing up that one spot, trading 2 players for 1, I'm also going to sign a guy like Terrence Ross. Nice wing guy, can hit the 3 ball, career average of 36% from the 3 on his career. Get a guy to get open shots playing next to LeBron James and with Anthony Davis. My starting lineup will look something like LeBron. I will also have Cam Reddish. I will also start. It'll be LeBron, Cam Reddish. I have AD. I will most likely in this instance probably start Jackson Hayes. Well, it's real dependable. Jackson Hayes, Christian Wood is interchangeable. The point is to make AD the 4, move LeBron to the 1. You have wing guys in there. You could bring either Reeves and D'Lo off the bench because we still have them. Have a reassured bench lineup. I would probably start my guy Rui in the starting 5 as well, but you'll still have Vando. You'll still have Terrence Ross that I just said. You have Jalen Smith alongside of whoever's there. Jalen Smith is a guy who's going to rim protect. He also can stretch the floor. He's a big that definitely is going to make you respect him. And if he needs to hit a 3, he'll hit a 3. But he's there to hit threes and block shots. That's really it. Simplistic role, and it's a role he can play. He's been playing it very well this year for the Pacers in 15 minutes a game. With that secondary lineup of having a guy like D'Lo and Reeves coming off the bench, AD and LeBron are playing a great 2-man game in the starting lineup. You have guys around them who can easily hit shots that's going to be wide open, and you take advantage of that. Kind of try to redo what we did, capture that lightning in the bottle of the 2020 Laker team. Use that formula. Since we're straight away from that formula, nothing has worked. Let's go back to that formula, do what has worked for us, and keep moving forward with the team. I don't think it's really too many drastic moves. I'm not with the mindset of trying to get a 3rd star because it seems very unnecessary. It is super simple. Reassure that AD can play the 4 and keep a big lineup out there. We have a bunch of switchable wings. We have guys that can create offense for themselves, also create offense for others. And most importantly, find another shooter who is dependable. Stop getting fake shooters. Stop getting guys that can't handle the pressure. Let's get some better shooters out there. Let's get some guys to fill that hole and stop playing so small all the time. That would be mainly where I would go with my version of the Lakers moving forward.
All right, y'all. Look, man, what we're doing is we're trying to be the GM of the team, not the GM and the coach, right? You can't do 2 at one. So as a GM, we have to think about the CBA. You have to think about the business side of the basketball. You have to really present and presume realistic trades based on what players actually can be traded by certain dates. Guys like Torian Prince can't necessarily be traded until later dates. So it's not realistic if we're taking over this team at the beginning of the year. It's not realistic to trade a guy like Torian Prince. Once you sign him, you're stuck with him. So again, we have to present realistic trades as a GM that the coach can deploy and put these players on the court as they see fit. So when we talk about the Lakers, we're going to talk about what their problems are now. When we talk about what their problems now is, we're talking about a team that is struggling from the 3-point line, shooting 34% as a team. They have a horrible assist to turnover ratio, but they're still solid defensively. They're still top 10 defensively right now. So I don't want to panic there just because they've lost a few games. So the Lakers right now rank 25th in the league in offensive efficiency. And again, they have to find solutions. So when we look at this, we have to say to ourselves, okay, what issues, what players can we plug in? What types of players do we need? So when you look at the problems they have, you need sharp shooting wing players. You need possibly a playmaking guard. You need versatile forwards to help with the rebounding, right? Those are things that you can look for. So when I'm presenting the trade that I'm thinking about, the first trade I would do is a trade that you can do right now. right? These are players that can be traded right now today. The first trade that I would make is I would look to the Washington Wizards, a team that is looking to sell on a lot of their guys, but they still have players that the Lakers could utilize. They have a player over there by the name of Corey Kispert, 38% from the three-point line. Scouting reports list him as a movement shooter. LeBron and AD play their style of play. Bron, the three guy, and a lot of the others, whenever you play under LeBron James, you have to be a knockdown corner three-point shooter. You have to be a great catch and shoot shooter. That's exactly what Corey Kispert is standing at 6'2". I would trade for Corey Kispert, giving up Jalen Hood-Schifino and a second-round pick. That trade works. The money works. We know that's the type of player the Washington Wizards are looking for. The second trade I would make would be at the trade deadline. This is a trade deadline move. Again, you would lose a little bit in one place, but it would actually help you. If I were the Lakers, I would trade D'Angelo Russell to the Toronto Raptors for OG Anunoby. I would give up D'Angelo Russell and that 2030 first-round pick for OG Anunoby. OG Anunoby is listed on scouting reports as a stationary shooter. He's one of the best wing defenders in the league. The Lakers are struggling to defend the three-point line, and they're struggling to defend perimeter players. We saw players like De'Aaron Fox cook them and pick them apart. They need to shore that up somehow defensively. And when you have those wing defenders that can supplement what AD does in the post, those are the realistic moves that can make the Lakers better.
I'm confused on why you're saying that these guys that I'm trying to trade, I'm stuck with, when even you in your hypothetical scenario traded somebody at the deadline. Why am I not allowed to also trade these players at the deadline? These guys are eligible for trades before the deadline is up. So everyone that I offered the only two players I offered in the trade, which are bench guys for another bench guy, not definitely switching the course of the team, not redoing what we did last year when we traded half the team it felt at the deadline and became a better team. We're talking about a Lakers team that started off this season better than we did last year. We're already in a better place than we were when we started the season last year, and you see where that got us. There's no need to deviate from the plan, deviate from the formula. It's just add on to what we have and make what we have work. I'm confused on why it's you're stuck with those guys. That's not realistic. But what is realistic is me trading D'Lo for OG Anunoby and getting Corey Kispert. I gave a realistic trade of Gabe Vincent, Taurean Prince at the deadline for a guy like Jalen Smith to come off the bench and sign Terrence Ross, who's a 36% three-point shooter, who I don't know what Corey Kispert has done to prove to be so much better than not Taurean Prince, but being so much better than Terrence Ross. But you can sign Terrence Ross for the vet min. He's a free agent. There's no risk there. High risk, very high risk. Very high reward, low risk situation for that. You're talking about a guy coming off the bench. Our team is what 9-6, 8-6, 8-7. I have to see, but compared to last year, when we started the season off 2-10, 2-11. This team is way better. So there's no reason to break off a guy like D'Lo. There's no reason to trade a guy like Reeves to bring in a guy on a one-year deal like OG who can still leave. Let's keep the formula that we have, work amongst it, make it better, and keep winning.
Hey, look, you can, if like I said, as a GM, and I'm looking at this team, and I'm watching the combination of D'Lo and Reeves consistently get cooked over and over and over again defensively. No matter how good D'Lo is offensively, no matter how good his playmaking is, it's always canceled out by this extremely poor defense. Teams are ISOing him every chance they get. We saw it last year against the Denver Nuggets, how he completely got cooked by the Denver Nuggets and Jamal Murray. He could not defend. They targeted him in the pick and roll. If you want to go through another year of that, fine. I'm not wanting to see that if I'm the Laker GM. I got to fix the perimeter defense while also adding shooting around LeBron James and AD. Those are the primary focus of this team. We need to put players around Bron and AD that supplement their skill sets and make the game easier for them, so they can save their legs. Let's not find guys that can replace them if they get hurt, right? Getting an old Terrence Ross, I don't think getting older really helps you, especially a guy that really hasn't been that efficient over the last few years. So again, when we're talking about a guy in OG Anunoby, we know he's being actively shopped by the Toronto Raptors. They're looking to move on from having all those forwards. They only have one true point guard on the roster, that's Schroeder. Adding another dynamic guard could actually help them because they've already come out and said, we're a team that's not tanking. So they want to stay on the winning track, but they got to get rid of those three power forwards. So that's a player that's actively getting shot. You're talking about bringing in marginal players that don't necessarily address the direct problems that the Lakers have. Corner three-point shooting, catch and shoot shooters. They need those players around LeBron. I'm tired of seeing Rui Hachimura and Taurean Prince miss wide open threes in late game situations, getting guys like a Corey Kispert, 38% from the three-point line, a guy that's a great catch and shoot player, and he's young, so you can have him for years to come. These are the types of players that the Lakers need to supplement Bron and AD and make their jobs much easier, because it looks like AD's having a rough time right now.
It's the voting, right?
Is this voting?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's because the first round was 3 minutes.
Yeah,
The first round was
3
3 minutes. I got the rebuttal, and this is chat.
Yes,
so, like I said, chat. What y'all think?
Oh, okay.
This was a good for me. This was a pretty good spin on the topic, bro. See what would you do? Because topics is it's so easy to sway somebody with. We'll agree with this, but having the creative ability to show like what type of move would you have done with a certain team is a lot of the creative spin on that, bro. I really get to see what how someone think.
Nah, for real. It's definitely nice to see y'all front office perspective. As the reporter for Lakers Digest, make sure y'all go subscribe. I definitely learned some things that I'm definitely going to bring into my next hits on there. So, fellas, I appreciate that. Definitely some ideas. Definitely put out some things that I feel like could be right for the Lakers media cartel. So, appreciate that. Y'all thoughts on the battle while we get these votes in? Yeah, I mean,
who mine?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I'm talking to y'all. My bad. Yeah, Bam.
My fault.
Yeah. No, you good.
Hey, man, good work out there. Hey, it was like I said, another day in the office, man.
Yeah, I love it. What about you, Lamont?
Hold on, what was the question?
What'd you think of the battle?
Oh, it was solid, man. I liked it, man. Obviously, you can get your points across. So just see what the people think about them when you put them out there, and it is what it is.
Yeah, no, I liked it. I definitely liked it. Y'all definitely both came to play. I'm actually really excited that y'all was the first battle, just because I think it sets the tone for the other battles. And I think the other battlers got to meet y'all where y'all were at just now. This battle right here to me was not a first battle type of battle. This was a main event type of battle. So y'all both did y'all thing for sure. All right, let's see what these votes is looking like. Let's get the judges' vote real quick, y'all. Judge 1 got Lamont 2-1 in the first round. Judge 1 got Lamont 2-1 in the first round. Judge 2 has Damo 2-1 right now. With that being said, the voting for the fan vote is in for the chat, and Damo wins 63-36. Damo wins this round 2-1. And with that being said, Damo wins the battle 2-1. Congratulations, Damo. Any words for the chat? The floor is yours, my brother.
I mean, what is there to say? When you expect greatness, you are great. Nah, man, let me stop. Let me cut the facade. Nah, man, Lamont, it was a great battle. I had fun. It was a nail biter, came down to game 7. It was great. It was great. Shout out to everybody that pulled up. Shout out to everybody going next. Like I said, left side and 4. It is what it is.
Yeah.
You go with the winning team.
Yeah, I like it. What about you, Lamont? Your thoughts on the battle, and what do you have to say?
I mean, it's panned out the way I expected it to pan out. But look, salute, man. Damo came up here, did his thing, man.
Yeah, good battle, guys.
It's the player choice way. Yeah, them boys don't get it started. The player choice way. Yeah, the player choice way. Come and switch lanes into the player choice way.